Hi, everyone. I'm Brett McDermott, and this is the Doing Big Things podcast. And today we are going to be talking about some easily implemented communication hacks that will immediately allow you to present as your most charismatic self. Now, as always, I don't want you to try and apply everything from today's episode. What I do ask is that you pick out the one or two tips that really speak to you and you put them into action today. Now, I just want to start by saying, listen, I don't consider myself the most charismatic person on planet Earth, but I have done a fair amount of research on the topic. I've read a few books here and there. I think it's a fascinating topic. So I'm going to bring you what I think are the best things I've learned about the topic. And some of these I've put into play in my own communication, and I found them to be pretty effective. So basically, the fact of the matter is, charismatic people impact the world. Whether it's starting new companies, new projects, new empires, if you want to do big things in your life, the art of charisma is one that you should dedicate some time to. Now, whether it's known leaders like Steve Jobs or Obama, TV personalities like Oprah or The Rock, or any number of highly impactful, charismatic people, you will find they share some of the same tendencies while they communicate. Now, today, we're going to go over some of those tactics, and you can give them a shot and see if they work for you. Contrary to popular belief, people are not simply born charismatic, innately magnetic from the moment they leave the womb. Now, if charisma were an inherent attribute, charismatic people would always be captivating. And that's just not the case. Even for the most engaging superstar, charisma can be present one moment and absent the next. I think we've all got that memory, right? Even some of us, maybe we consider ourselves to be somewhat charismatic. We all have a memory, maybe it's a dinner party or something of the sort where we went in there and we just laid an egg. Charisma comes and goes. That's just the way it is. Steve Jobs is a good example of this. I mean, he was very well known for his captivating keynote presentations, but if you watch his earliest presentations, you'll see that he came across as bashful, a little awkward. He kind of veered from overly dramatic to downright nerdy. Now, Jobs progressively increased his level of charisma over the years, and you can see the gradual improvement in his public appearances. Charisma is a learnable skill, guys. I can't say that enough. Now, when you meet a charismatic person, you get the impression that they have a lot of power and that they like you a lot. That's basically what charisma is. So the equation that produces charisma is actually quite simple. All you have to do is give the impression that you possess both high power and high warmth. So how exactly do we convey these qualities? Well, that's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to go over, my friends. I'm still getting the whole hang of the when do I drink water while recording a podcast thing. Like, it's a little easier when you're interviewing someone because there's breaks and they talk, you talk. When you're doing it all yourself, your voice gets a little scratchy. I'm still figuring that out. If you have any tips, slide into my DMs. Anyway, let's move on. Let's start with how to convey more power. Tip number 1, lower the intonation of your voice at the end of your sentences. If you really want to sound like a boss, make sure to lower your tone when ending most of your statements. Now, let's listen to the difference in the way both of these sentences sound. I'm confident that the two of us could create great results together. Let's try that again. I'm confident that the two of us could create great results together. Now, which one of those dudes are you going to want to do business with? I think I'm going to choose the second one. He just sounded way more sure of himself. The first one kind of sounded like he was asking a question, but he wasn't. He was trying to make a statement. It sounded terrible. Don't be guy number 1, be guy number 2. Now, save the rising intonation for the end of questions. That's where it belongs, not at the end of statements. Close out your statements by lowering the intonation of your voice. Let's actually think of lowered intonation like it's Mariano Rivera entering the game at the end of the sentence to close things out. I apologize to all my non-baseball fan listeners, and even for the ones that do watch baseball, I'm not entirely sure that analogy makes any sense, but we're going to go with it and we're going to move on. Keep moving on down the list. How do we convey more power? Here's another way to do it. Reduce how quickly and how often you nod. Now, that's kind of an interesting tip, right? You probably didn't see that one coming, but have you ever caught yourself incessantly nodding like a friggin' bobblehead doll while someone was speaking to you? Especially maybe someone that you really respect and you're really trying to show them that you're with them, right? That you're listening to every word. Now, although you may feel like you're being, a positive, agreeable little chap with all this crazy head movement, you're actually conveying a lack of power. Now, powerful people are comfortable with stillness. Now, it's okay to throw in the occasional slow nod when you're listening, to let the other person know that you still have a pulse. But for the most part, we should try and remain still when we're absorbing someone else's message. All right, cool. Let's keep going, guys. How do we convey more strength? Be fully present. Now, when you're with a charismatic person, you feel that they are completely here with you in the moment, completely present. If you're not fully present in interaction, then there's a good chance that your eyes are going to glaze over like a donut. Your facial expressions will be a split second delayed. And since the human mind can actually read facial expressions in as little as 17 milliseconds, when we're not fully present in an interaction, people are going to see it, guys. You're not going to be able to hide it for too long. Our body language sends a clear message that other people can read and react to, if only on a subconscious level. So on some level, guys, people are going to realize that you're not really there with them. The good news is presence is a learnable skill. And that's what I'm going to keep coming back to. All of these charisma skills, they're learnable. We can improve. It's the beauty of the human experience. Now, like any other ability from playing piano to painting, you can increase it with practice and patience. Now, being present means simply having a moment-to-moment awareness of what's happening. Sounds simple, but it's really not that easy in application. Now, it means paying attention to what's going on rather than being caught up in your own thoughts. In your next conversation, closely watch your friends' facial expressions as they speak. Paying close attention to someone's nonverbal expressions is a great way to stay out of your own head and completely focused on the message that someone is delivering to you. All right, guys, we are moving along. We're picking up steam. We're still talking about the power of conveying strength in your communication. Here's another hack, another skill that we can implement into our communication today, convey more strength. Pause occasionally during and after your sentences. See how I did that? I actually paused during my sentence there. Anyway, let's talk about it. People who broadcast confidence often pause while speaking. They'll pause for a second or two between sentences or even in the middle of a sentence. And what this does is it conveys the feeling that they're so confident in their power that they trust that people will not interrupt. Let's compare two deliveries of the same statement again. I am confident that this partnership will lead to many great things. Together, we can impact billions of people and help them to lead more productive, fulfilling lives. I am confident that this partnership will lead to many great things. Together, we can impact billions of people and help them to lead more productive and fulfilling lives. Now, which one of these leaders do you feel more apt to follow? The power of the pause cannot be understated. Try a little pause in your statements today. Throw it in there, middle of the sentence, end of the sentence, whenever it feels right, toss a pause in there. People are not going to interrupt. What they're going to do is they're going to lean forward in their chairs a little bit more. You're going to convey more strength. All right, so let's recap a little bit on how we are putting power out there in our communication. Now, some of the things we went over were lowering our intonation at the end of statements, pausing occasionally while speaking, reducing how often and how quickly we nod. Don't be a bobblehead doll, not what we want to be, and stay fully present in our interactions. If we can do those four things, we will be moving mountains in no time, guys. All right? We covered strength, but as we spoke of, that's only part of the charismatic formula. Now let's jump over to warmth, because we not only want to know that someone's powerful, we want to know that they're going to use these powers for good. Like Superman, right? Superman's super charismatic superhero. If he was a villain, I don't know. I wouldn't feel that he was as charismatic because he wasn't really trying to do good. Now, that's where warmth comes into play. Being seen as warm means being perceived as benevolent, altruistic, caring, willing to impact the world in a positive way. Superman. Let's all be Superman, guys. This is how we do it. Now, warmth is assessed almost entirely through body language and behavior. It's evaluated a bit more directly than power. So here are some ways that we can convey warmth. Be authentic. Now, this is such an overused cliche. It's on every damn Instagram carousel. It's in every meme, every TikTok. You hear be authentic. All right, we're all sick of it, right? But at its core, it's an incredibly powerful tool. Even if we control the main expression on our face or the way we hold our arms, legs, or head, if our internal state is different from what we're aiming to portray, then sooner or later what's called a micro expression will flash across our face. People will detect that we're hiding something or being inauthentic in some way. They're gonna find you out eventually, guys. To convey warmth, we have to be as authentic as possible with our words. All right, let's keep moving along. How do we convey warmth? Pause for 2 full seconds before you speak. Now, this is different than the previously mentioned pause. This is more of a listening skill. Now, good listeners, they know never, ever to interrupt. Not even if the impulse to do so comes from excitement about something the other person is saying. Now, no matter how congratulatory or warm your input is, it's always going to result in their feeling at least a twinge of resentment or frustration at not having been allowed to complete their sentence. Now, to keep yourself from doing this, let's institute this new policy into your upcoming conversations. Pause for 2 full seconds after your conversational partner has finished their statement. Now, you're going to be surprised at just how difficult this is. In the beginning, you're going to be jumping out of your skin to start speaking before they're done talking. But this 2-second pause, it does 2 things. One, it allows you to fully hear your conversational partner and absorb their message. And let me tell you something, they're going to appreciate that so much, guys, because they almost never get it. We're all stepping on each other's sentences all day long. No one feels heard. If you're one of the few people in their life that fully listens to them, it's gonna separate you from the pack. Now, the second thing that this pause does is it gives your brain a couple seconds to kind of catch up and formulate its best possible response. So if you feel like you're not getting enough chances to speak with this strategy, and that might be the case. Maybe you're usually the talker. Maybe you talk 60, 70% of the conversation usually. This is going to kind of turn the tables on you. I truly believe we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We are made to listen a little bit more than we talk, guys. Let's try and turn the tables on that. At the core of it, people love to hear themselves talk. The more you let them speak and the more you fully listen to them, the more they're going to like you. It's so simple, but it's so true. All right, guys, let's keep rolling on. I think we're getting somewhere here. We're all getting a little more charismatic today. How do we convey more warmth? Smile. The single most important thing you can do to project more warmth in your voice is also the simplest. It's smile. Smiling affects how we speak to such an extent that listeners in one study could identify 16 different kinds of smiles based on sound alone. Is that insane? That's nuts. I mean, this is why it's worth smiling even when we're on a phone call. Plus, smiling just feels plain old good, guys. I mean, I really enjoy it. We should all do it more often. Okay, so let's kind of recap quickly how to project more warmth with our conversation. Be authentic. Pause for 2 full seconds before you speak. And smile. There you have it, guys. Some easily implementable tips on how you can convey more charisma with your communication. I really hope you found today's episode useful. And if you did, of course, I would greatly appreciate you rating the Doing Big Things podcast on whatever wonderful platform you are listening. Either way, I just really appreciate you being here today. I've got a great guest for next week's episode. I know you're going to learn a lot from them. I'm not going to give it away as to who it is. I kind of like to keep it a secret for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. but they're pretty cool, and I think you're going to love the episode. I will hopefully see you next week. Now, let's get out there today and do big things.